Greetings and salutations, family. It is me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the awesome and amazing LDBC, Lions Den Boston community. Shout out to Louisiana All-American Sports Network. Last night we did Albany at Brule High in the first round of the Louisiana High School Playoffs. Shout out to Envision Photography and Video. And shout out to the greatest university in the world, the Southern University, home of the mighty Jaguars. In this particular video, I'm going to talk on and I'm going to speak on a real controversial topic. Of course, for all my diehard Southern University fans, we know today is senior afternoon at A.W. Mumford Stadium, Peterson Field, as Southern University hosts Texas Southern in their home finale and senior afternoon for all the seniors on the team. I'm definitely going to touch on that in my post-game reaction. However, I want to touch on another controversial subject, another controversial topic. As we know, a week ago, Grambling, which is, in my personal opinion, Southern University's biggest rival, as we know, Grambling hosted Bethune-Cookman, another SWAC school from South Florida, right? And at halftime, there was a huge melee and a huge brawl between Grambling and Bethune-Cookman. And, it's been a real hot button issue. It's been a real hot button topic. And, of course, somebody that did not attend nor graduate from an HBCU, that being Cam Newton, he had some very, in my personal opinion, discouraging perspectives and points of views on the melee and brawl between Bethune-Cookman and Grambling. And, first and foremost, Cam Newton, he originally attended the University of Florida. And he was Tim Tebow's backup. Then he allegedly stole a laptop, and he transferred to community college. He's transferred to Blinn Community College, and he won a national championship, in junior college. Then he attended then he transferred from Blinn, and he was highly recruited, the top JUCO player in the country, one of the top ones. And he ended up going to Auburn, where he led Auburn to a national championship. And then eventually, he went to the NFL, drafted by the Carolina Panthers, and he had a successful NFL career. In college, he won a Heisman Trophy. In the NFL, he was the league MVP. He dragged the Carolina Panthers, who is a division rival of my New Orleans Saints. He literally took that team and put them on his back, and he carried them to the Super Bowl. But, of course, they lost to the Denver Broncos. So he has had, in my personal opinion, an illustrious NFL career. Now, on the backside of that, now he is in the media space. He has his own show, 4th and 1. And, my issue with Cam Newton, first of all, in my personal opinion, he's a high-level hypocrite. But that aside, he has had some salacious hot takes when it came to certain things. And myself and, my brothers in the LDBC, but in particular the Southern Baller Show Collective, myself, my brother Jerry Lovin Green, Big Joe Townsend, Brent Fox, we done defended this dude in different situations and on different occasions. However, when it comes to this particular topic, individuals know I'm a proud graduate of Southern University, and I ride hard for all my HBCU family. And I can't tell other people how to feel about HBCUs, other individuals that graduated from HBCUs, but me, I'm a ride with all my HBCUs. And that's one thing about it. If Southern plays against Grambling, play against Jackson State, play against Alcorn State, play against whoever, my personal perspective and point of view is, hey, I want us to kick y'all behind thoroughly, do it in love, and then after that, we just gonna love on y'all. You know what I'm saying? And it's all good. We one big HBCU family. Now we got other individuals who shall remain nameless. You know, hey, especially Southern University's top rivals. Hey, they like always and forever F the other school, and that's not my personal approach. And in this space, in this HBCU space, I feel like, we should ride for one another. And I'm riding for Grambling this instant, even though Grambling is Southern University's biggest in-state rival. I felt like the way Cam Newton addressed Bethune-Cookman and Grambling in this particular scenario, I think it's a ridiculous double standard, because let's keep it a buck. Had there been LSU and Auburn, I promise you, he wouldn't give them the same energy. I guarantee it. I'll be willing to bet my bottom dollar on that. And I'm not even a gambling individual. So at the end of the day, I feel like Cam Newton is extremely hypocritical. And in my mindset, my thinking, like, dude, you have fortune, you have fame, you're a highly accomplished NFL player. Like, why do you need to pander, in my personal opinion? Whether he legitimately feels that way or not, I feel like he's a $1 million slave. And to these people that you pandering towards, all they're going to view you is a big, strong buck. Yeah, you won MVPs, you dance and you all this other stuff when you was a NFL player. Now that you're in the media space, you're just a useful pawn, in my personal opinion. For you to say the things you say about Grambling and basically saying, hey, y'all HBCUs, what if y'all were on a major platform, Fox and ESPN and Netflix and whoever. And that's my issue with this. Bethune-Cookman and Grambling having the altercation they had between the two teams. First and foremost, I'm not condoning it, but it's someone that played football in middle school. There were a couple instances we were going to literally fight against opposing teams. Playing all 4 years at Assumption High. Both as a freshman team, a JV team, a varsity team. We always had a fight against another school. And in addition to that, he talking about HBCUs, but he talking about big platforms. But literally, you got multiple people in the space, like Scotty, salute to all script. But like, he showed the footage of when Michigan and Ohio State fought on Fox on national television with 20 million viewers. So they fought on a big platform. Like, in this whole diatribe and rant that he went on his platform, he didn't mention that not once. And in addition to that, in terms of, those two teams fighting, setting the black race back, nah, man, as far as I'm concerned, people like you set the black race back. Because as far as I'm concerned, Cam Newton is nothing more than a house Negro. Yeah, he's highly successful. He's had a illustrious NFL career. He won a Heisman Trophy. He was league MVP. He brought his team to the Super Bowl, carried them on their back. But as far as I'm concerned, he's $1 million slave. Even though he's a multi-millionaire, he has fortune, he has fame. To me, at what point, from a financial standpoint and from a status standpoint, after you reach this plateau, because that's the issue I have with individuals like him and Stephen A. Smith. Once you reach a certain level, why do you still need to continuously pander to, these other folks, and in addition to that, to your employer, to continue to get this multi-million-dollar check? In my personal opinion, as someone that grew up in South Louisiana, if I was at a certain point, like, I wouldn't want be an employee on a major platform. I would be like, hey, I'm going to be independent, black owned, just the way Master P was with no limit. And hey, I'm going to have my own company. And I'm not going to have a boss. I'm going to say what I want. And I'm going to move the way I want, whether they rock with me or not. So at the end of the day, I feel like it's the double standard. And just to kind of give you an example to tie these stories together. My freshman year at Southern, Prairie View's band and Southern band had a huge fight my first year at Southern. And the issue I had with the situation is, of course, Southern University's band at the time was 100% young men. They didn't have no girls or no females in Southern University's band, whereas Prairie View's band, 2/3 of their band was girls or females. And even though their band was literally twice the size of Southern's band, it was 100% men. So when you see like these pink pill conversations where women think women could do everything better than men, and even when it comes to going to war or some type of physical confrontation, it's absolute delusion. Southern had, even though their band was literally half the size of Prairie View band, it was all men, and 2/3, not even 100% of Prairie View band was females or women, young women. It was 2/3. It wasn't 100% girls. It was 2/3. And I'm not gonna lie, Southern's human jukebox, they pretty much mollywopped Prairie View. I mean, they beat the brakes off of those girls, and they had no mercy. Like one of my classmates at the time, he was saying, he was in a certain section in the band, and he was like, this girl had an instrument, and she approached him, and she tried to hit him, and he said he just, took his instrument and hit her in the face. He had no mercy. He was like, hey, she tried to attack me, so I swung on her first. I'm like, damn, bro. So anyway, the issue, me pointing out this incident is the issue that I had with this particular situation. It's basically our local media here in Baton Rouge, WAFB, which is Channel 9, WBRZ, which is Channel 2, and The Advocate, the local newspaper. Man, I'm not going to lie, those platforms, they pretty much played that footage literally every year for like 10, 15 years. Every time Prairie View and Southern played, even though the two football teams didn't do it, like they played that footage year in and year out, year after year after year after year. However, when LSU had incidents with other teams and they got in fights, don't get it twisted. If you look hard enough, LSU's football team fought against other teams. And guess what? That footage passed through one news cycle and you never saw it again. And that's even the issue when Jackson State made their lone appearance with Deion Sanders as the head coach, the A.W. Mumford Stadium, Peterson Field. Deion Sanders was the head coach of Jackson State. Shador was the starting quarterback. They came to A.W. Mumford. Glenn Bubba McDaniel was the starting quarterback for Southern. And Southern led damn near the whole game. Shador led Jackson State on the drive, and they took a 4-point lead with like 1 minute and some change left. That was the first lead they had in the entire game, and they didn't relinquish it. Glenn Bubba McDaniel ended up throwing an interception, and that pretty much ended the game. And that group of seniors at Jackson State had never beaten Southern, ever. Their senior year was the first time they beat Southern. And as a result, the same way we saw with Michigan and Ohio State at the Horseshoe, Jackson State seniors tried to plant the flag at midfield at A.W. Mumford Stadium, Peterson Field, and Southern University seniors were not having it. And they fought. It didn't end up being a brawl on the same scale and the same magnitude as Bethune-Cookman and Grambling, but it ended up being a skirmish. And the thing I hated about that entire situation was the fact that, first of all, that literally was the best HBCU game I saw the entire season. And I'm not just talking about the SWAC or the MEAC. I'm talking about the entire season. That was the best game I saw. And in addition to that, I felt like the media was going to blow it out of proportion the same way it did when Prairie View and Southern bands fought. And I felt it was going to get blown out of proportion the same way. It didn't. And I was grateful it didn't. But the point I'm trying to make is the reason why I don't like these type of incidents, the incident that Jackson State and Southern had that night at A.W. Mumford Stadium, is because I don't want individuals like Cam Newton and, the white power structure in the media to have this ridiculous double standard. And like I said, I'm going to just, he got on his platform, his little flunky, Peggy, is a graduate at HBCU, and he pretty much, I'm going to just keep it a buck. He ain't nothing but a glorified yes man as far as I'm concerned. He's just a glorified yes man, and he got on there. He said some ridiculous stuff about, in my personal opinion, about Bethune-Cookman and Grambling. First of all, in terms of major platforms, like I said, you've had Power 5, Power 4 PWIs get on major platforms and fight, and it wasn't no big deal. It wasn't blown out of proportion the way Bethune-Cookman and Grambling was. And then he talked about Mickey Joseph. Man, hey, bro, I done seen college coaches do some ridiculous things, say ridiculous things, and not get the same level of pushback that you gave Mickey Joseph. And more than anything, I just kind of feel like you're a high-level hypocrite. And if LSU and Auburn had a huge melee and a huge fight, you would not have the same energy for that. And, I go through YouTube and I see a variety of different incidents involving Cam Newton. To me, that's why he seemed like a high-level hypocrite. You're throwing stones, but you live in a glass house. And I'll give you an example. First, we talked about him going to University of Florida, and guess what? Allegedly, he stole a laptop. But you could say, hey, he was a young man. You could give him some grace. Cool. Then, we could talk about when he was a player, he had a training camp fight with Josh Norman. Hey, all right, that was training camp. Cool. But we talking about even as a grown man. Like, there was a 7-on-7 event, and you're getting jumped by some people that at one point was on your team that went out, started their own thing, and y'all scuffing all over social media. That's another incident you had. But talking about HBCUs, like literally like a month ago, when Alabama A&M, well, less than a month ago at this point, Alabama A&M and Alabama State played. And guess what? You literally on ESPN First Take slapping Alabama A&M's mascot, a young college student. So at the end of the day, like, bro, you a hypocrite. He said this incident set black people back years. No. Individuals like you with your mindset, your ideology, your thought pattern, you set black people back. And as far as I'm concerned, like, any respect I have for Cam Newton, as far as I'm concerned, is out the window. Because as far as I'm concerned, he a Sambo, he a minstrel show clown. The way he dressed, the way he moved, the way he carried himself, the way he act. I think he a clown, in my personal opinion. And he said he despised, this incident and basically, Grambling and Mickey Joseph and the whole ordeal like this and buffoons showing their behind. As far as I'm concerned, man, Cam Newton, you a joke, you a clown, you're a minstrel show. And he said he despised that. No, I despise you and your mindset, your thinking, your ideology. It's just like some of the people in Jaguar Nation that say, hey, Southern needs a white head coach. Man, look, bro, I can't rock with that. People are entitled to have their own opinion, but Southern does not need a white head coach. And as far as I'm concerned, Southern needs to get the best possible black head coach they could get. But I don't want to mix the two subjects. At the end of the day, when it comes to Cam Newton, and I mean this with all due disrespect, as far as I'm concerned, you're a buck dancing, boot licking, banana eating monkey. And I mean that with all due disrespect. I despise his mindset, his ideology, his thinking. Basically, as far as I'm concerned, Cam Newton ain't nothing but $1 million slave. He a house Negro. And one day he's going to get his ninja wake-up call. And instead of defending you like I've defended you in the past, like, I don't have nothing to do with this dude. I don't rock with this dude. I don't respect this dude. I don't have no respect for this dude whatsoever. Because like I said, as far as I'm concerned, he a Sambo. He a minstrel show clown, and he a banana-eating monkey, a buck-dancing buffoon, a coon, as far as I'm concerned. I have no respect for him. I unsubscribe to his platform, and as far as I'm concerned, bump that dude, because as far as I'm concerned, like, he's the issue in this country. Like I said, he ain't nothing but a big buck, and many individuals that, just like when Roy Jones Jr. was fighting on HBO, like Larry Merchant and Jim Lampley weren't his friends. And these same people at ESPN, and truthfully speaking, it's a double standard. Like I said, would he have the same type of energy for Auburn if LSU and Auburn had a fight? We know he wouldn't. The same way WAFB, WBRZ, and the Advocate didn't have the same energy for LSU when they had their incidents as opposed to when Southern had their incidents. So as far as I'm concerned, individuals like Cam Newton are the problem when it comes to black people. Like, we don't have no unity, no togetherness. We're not on one accord. And basically, he's a walking, talking, living, breathing example of the Willie Lynch letters. Anything that divide black people, that's divisive when it comes to the black man against the black woman, the house Negro against the field Negro. Cam Newton is the epitome of that when it comes to the double standards we have in this country. And like I say, individuals like him, Malika Andrews, Jason Whitlock, Stephen A. Smith, at one point or another, all of these ninjas gonna get their ninja wake-up call. And at the end of the day, like, I don't have no respect for Cam Newton, and at no point will I watch his platform moving forward. I don't respect him. And hey, if he have another incident, because truthfully speaking, the incident between Bethune-Cookman and Grambling, I promise you, a Power 5, Power 4 PWI, two PWIs gonna have the same type of incident, and I'll be willing to bet my bottom dollar he don't give him the same type of energy that he gave towards Bethune-Cookman and Grambling. Dude, you didn't go to HBCU, you're not in HBCU spaces. As far as I'm concerned, keep your mouth off HBCUs. Hey, if you want to talk about some PWI incidents, some Power 4, Power 5 incidents, talk about them. But as far as I'm concerned, anything happening in the SWAC, the MEAC, and that's another thing too. He didn't even know that Bethune-Cookman is no longer in the MEAC. That incident between Bethune-Cookman and Grambling, it was a SWAC incident. So that goes to show you that he's extremely uneducated and uninformed when it comes to HBCUs and in the HBCU space. So as far as I'm concerned, like, hey, when Auburn have their incident, because it's going to happen at some point, there's an incident in the SEC, PWI, Power 4, Power 5. Like, speak on those incidents. You know, stay out the HBCU space. You know nothing about HBCUs. And you didn't go to HBCU, so I don't understand why you're concerned about this situation. So as far as I'm concerned, that's it for this topic. If you enjoyed the video, please like the video, share the video, comment in the comment section, subscribe to the channel. I'm like 55 subscribers away from the 1,000 subscriber mark. So if you've not done so already, subscribe to the channel. And after Texas Southern versus Southern University, senior afternoon at A.W. Mumford Stadium, P. Richardson Field, I'm going to have my post-game reaction. So be sure to come through and check that out later. Again, like, share, subscribe. I'll catch y'all on the rebound. Y'all have a blessed, phenomenal Saturday, blessed, phenomenal weekend. I'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace and blessings. And go Jags. You dig?